ANASTASIE TOPASA. Confession of the Queen of Seduction. ANASTASIE TOPASA. Confession of the Queen of Seduction. I was the Queen of Seduction, the wife of Satan, and the daughter of the Queen of Heaven. I want to warn God's children to wear bras that are normal, not the silicone one that gives the impression that you have rounded and bigger breasts, for that silicone bra has a liquid inside that causes cancer. Likewise, the underwear that has a sponge and that makes a woman bottom look bigger. It contains a liquid that causes cancer. The continual contact with the body will cause cancer. You may say I am exaggerating, but I have to tell the truth. I was the Queen of Seduction working with the goddesses. Just wear a normal bra and normal underwear. Don't try to correct God, telling him that he has made a mistake giving you these breasts and bottoms. You got to accept yourself the way God made you. Accept the cycle of birth, growth, and death. These things were created in the spirit world for the sake of destruction. There is a cancer liquid in the silicone product. These things make the breast have good shape in the eyes of men, and they make the bum round and bigger. In truth, you are trying to correct nature. When I began to testify about these types of bras and underwear, they were not yet in circulation. And God's people thought I was exaggerating. I want to warn God's people that there is cancer in products that the women use to make bumpy their chests and bottoms. There is cancer in products that men use to increase the size of their sex organs. This is siren, seduction, Satan, and serpent. The Bible says you shall not sacrifice your children to Moloch and hand them to prostitution. Leviticus 18:21. You shall not give any of your children to offer them to Molech, and so profane the name of your God. I am the Lord. Leviticus 19:29. Do not profane your daughter by making her a prostitute, lest the land fall into prostitution and the land becomes full of depravity. In modern days, many mothers are consecrating their daughters to prostitution. And these children are used by the devil. It is when mothers decorate and embellish and put fantasies on their little girls that their children are consecrated in the spirit world. These decorating and beauty objects are points of connection and points of contact, giving the enemy legality to influence children into prostitution. Earrings are snakes that women put on their ears. Many mothers have dedicated their daughters to the Queen of Seduction. You will see that your daughters become attached to beauty products, wanting to be beautiful all the time. The little girl will be doing makeup all the time. Though she is a child, she wants to appear beautiful, therefore she will put on accessories. I want to tell you that you are going to give an account to the Lord for that. You will notice the child saying, I want to wear this, not that. This is because she feels she is not pretty and she wants to appear beautiful. This is your fault. At the age of 8, my adoptive family took me from Mali, and we went back to Ivory Coast, to my native country, where I went through the ritual for dedication to the spirit of death. I want to say that when I was consecrated to the devil, the latter placed in me the gift and capacity to destroy God's children and churches. My father was a Rosicrucian, and he spent his life despising God's children and slandering them. When I began to serve the devil, he gave me a Bible that had an aroma that was changing in relation to his mood. After giving me the Bible, the devil charged me to stand before God and his angels in order to accuse the believer with Bible passages and Bible verses. When the devil was angry and wanted me to destroy people, the aroma of my Bible was changing. When he was warning me or encouraging me, the perfume was changing too. This Bible given to me by the devil was not different from other Bibles. Before you buy a Bible, make sure to pray, for there are Bibles that are marked and sealed with the name of Satan. My mission was against the Church of Jesus Christ. I was commissioned to fight God's children and to cool down their faith and put out their fire through abominable practices that were accepted in the church. If God's children are not taught, they will die, and God will ask us to account for their blood. Given that I committed myself to repair what I had destroyed in occultism, I am in the obligation of telling the truth. My assignment was not executed outside of churches, but within the churches. My mission was against churches that were preaching holiness, purification, and sanctity. Churches that were not preaching holiness were considered conquered by the kingdom of Satan. One of my assignments against holiness churches was to accuse God's children who are in breach of the law of God. Whenever you fail to abide by the word, I was standing at the altar to raise a voice of accusation against you. I was the accuser of the brethren who were in breach of the commandment of God. Whenever a war is declared in the life of a believer, my first weapon was the identification of his foundation. We all have a foundation. I was investigating the foundation of God's children in order to find family covenant, dedication, and pact. I was able to reach God's children through dedication and family covenants. I was operating in the covenants of placentas and umbilical cords. Brother, you don't know where your umbilical cord and placenta is. You never knew where the doctor takes your placenta and umbilical cord. There was a village where I preached the gospel and the Lord showed me that the whole village was in prison because of the bondage of the placenta. We don't know what people do with children's placenta and umbilical cord. At the end of time, the war of the devil against humanity is a race against the clock, and I had to work hard. I told you that my name was ANASTASIE TOPASA. My father is dead, but my mother is alive. I want to talk about my consecration in witchcraft and occultism. My father was a Rosicrucian and he was working for the devil. He was a Catholic and was highly elevated in the Catholic community of the Ivory Coast. When I was born, I was handed to a family that adopted me, for this was the tradition in the village. In this village, children were consecrated to spirits when they were born. They were actually handed to the devil through rituals. My father led me to the Rosicrucian lodge where he consecrated me and married me to the devil. I became the wife of Satan although I was still a baby, and I got a new name. I was the queen of seduction. After consecration to the devil in the spirit world, I became a demonic authority. I became the queen of demons of death. I am talking about the spirit of death. I was causing death in all sectors and dimensions of life. There are marriages that are dead, though the man and woman continue to live together, they are in a dead relationship. I will talk about the role of the spirit of death in the lives of God's children, since there are many kinds of death in the spirit world. As my progression continued in the occult, I became the daughter of the Queen of Heaven and I became a queen of seduction. Today, many women have been turned to queens of seduction unknowingly. I was a vampire running after blood. I was causing poverty by sucking money. All these functions and power given to me by the devil were in order to wage spiritual war against the church and God's children. I was collaborating with witches that were posted in churches. They knew the weakness and vulnerability of these local churches. I was destroying God's children thanks to the open doors that they were opening. I often faced resistance from God's children who persevered in prayer. Today I will talk about the devil, end time, and modern weapons that destroy churches and God's children. In order to attack God's children, I was using many weapons, and we will discover these weapons that cause God's children to cool down. In the spirit world, there is a weapon called the fatal weapon. Ecclesiastes 7:26 And I find more bitter than death the woman whose heart is snares and nets, and her hands like bands. Whoever pleases God shall escape from her, but the sinner shall be taken by her. We know, despite the many dead churches, there are also living and fiery churches. However, the devil can destroy living churches when Christians lack vigilance and open doors themselves, giving the devil legal ground. When the devil attack and fail to overthrow a minister in order to bring down a church, the devil will finally use what we call the fatal weapon, the end-time weapon. What is the fatal weapon of the devil? Beloved, the last weapon of the devil in modern time is the woman. I am myself a woman and I am not here to talk down on women. In this battle, we were always looking for weakness and vulnerability, for every church has a foundation. The open door that the devil is using is called a woman. They are women coming to church putting chains, necklaces, and earrings. These items are snakes. They are green and black snakes and vipers. When God's children put these items of the world of Satan and they go to church, I was able to come inside the church through these items and I was able to cause people to sleep during this service. In the past, long before my entry into the dark world, many Satanists have failed in their war campaign against the believers. And in order to avoid death, they have converted to the Lord Jesus Christ. They testified that the men of the devil are using women. They also revealed how God can use women. I am here to talk about the new strategy of the devil and the queen of seduction. The Bible states that a woman ought to cover her head when praying or prophesying. 1 Corinthians 11:5 But every woman who prays or prophesies with her head unveiled dishonors her head, for that is even the same as if she were shaved. Many people say there is no need for women to cover their heads, for their hair is their cover. All right, I am here to tell you what I did in the kingdom of darkness. I don't know whether they have changed their strategy, but I am here to tell you what I did for the devil. When ladies were failing to cover their heads during prayer, I would stand at the altar to accuse them of failing to do the will of God. I would stand and would begin to recite the word of God written in 1 Corinthians 11:10, which says, "For this reason, a woman ought to have a sign of authority on her head because of the angels. And when the angel comes to collect your prayer, I will ask the angel of God, where is the mark of authority that the lady is supposed to have? You cannot collect her prayer, for she has failed to wear the mark of authority." My mission was to stop God's servants from having a mark of authority upon which they are dependent, and ladies who were covered, I was sending them stings on their heads to make them feel uncomfortable so that they would be forced to remove their coverings. It is when the Lord sent his servants to teach and testify that the veil is a mark of the authority that many churches began to encourage women to cover the head. In response, the devil and the queen of seduction held an emergency meeting in the spiritual world where radical new strategies were adopted, given that women have decided to cover their heads. In the aftermath of the emergency meeting, the devil went on to publish a countermeasure. In this meeting in the satanic world, the devil instructed the industry of the dark world to design various church hats which had become popular and are used as veils today. We must understand that the manufacturing industry of Satan is more extensive and more advanced than the global and terrestrial industries. Lucifer's kingdom has a hyper-sophisticated industrial complex. The dictionary describes the veil as a piece of thin material worn by women to cover the face or head. When the Bible talks about the veil, it's not talking about a hat. But Satan replaced the veils with the hats. These are the kinds of hats designed in the industrial and manufacturing complex of the marine kingdom. The devil came up with this church flower hat that women put on their head as a veil. This is the mark of Satan 666. This flower hat is the power of serpent, siren, and seduction. This church hat is a snake that balances itself on the heads of the women wearers in the church. This church hat that women wear have cameras and allow the devil to move in the church. This church hat is a viper and causes skin problems. It is manufactured using human skins. Then the devil ordered the industrial complex to design scarves that contain the spirit of anger. This scarf causes women to become moody. They become imbalanced in their mood and become nervous. This scarf has the demon of the nightclub. These church hats and scarves designed in the manufacturing industries of Satan contain points of contact and points of connection, and we enter the church through these church hats and scarves. Some of these scarves were mirrors and doorways through which I was passing in order to enter the church. There are scarves that were cobras. These scarves, bonnets, and church hats are not veils. In order to cover your head, you can use your loinclothes or simply a tissue, for scarves are not the same as veils. Besides the production of scarves and church hats, the second strategy adopted by the devil and the queen of seduction in the emergency meeting was the production of wigs. In the spirit world, the hair of the queen of seduction is really long, descending to the ground, and when the queen of seduction shout and roar in the spirit world, the top end of her hair becomes snakes. These hairs are sold all over the world. When you wear these wigs, you are working for the Queen of Heaven. You must understand the wigs are snakes and vipers, and all these hair sold in shops are snakes. It is written in 1 Timothy 2:9, in the same way also, I desire that women adorn themselves in decent clothing, with modesty and sensibleness, not adorned with braiding, or gold, or pearls, or costly clothing, but with good works, which becomes women professing godliness. Brothers, in my testimony, when I descended to hell, I saw that my hair was long and sharp because I was braiding my hair, although I was a servant of Satan. In hell, insects, millipedes, and worms were eating me in the hair because of the products I was using on my hair. I saw that in the manufacturing industry of the Queen of Seduction was also designed hair dye with human blood. God's servants cannot paint and texture the hair with hair dye. They are designed in the industry of the devil thanks to human blood. The Bible talks about the hair border in Leviticus 19:27. Over here the Bible explains the manner we should cut our hair. You shall not round the side of your head, nor mar the edge of your beard. Exodus 28:2. And you shall make holy garments for Aaron your brother, for glory and for beauty. 3. And you shall speak to all the wise-hearted, whom I have filled with the spirit of wisdom, that they make Aaron's garments to consecrate him, so that he may minister to me in the priest's office. Brother and sisters, whenever God's children were opening doors, I was assaulting them. I waged spiritual war against believers who were putting on sleeveless clothes, exposing their armpits. When you expose your armpit and your armpit hair, I was standing at the altar in order to accuse them before the Lord. This is illegal, and it is a gateway that enables me to couple with God's children. I was a goddess of seduction. Whenever God's children expose their body parts, I was coupling with them. I had the legality. I reached a level where I was able to double myself and to triple myself. And when I coupled with God's children who expose their bodies, I released the desire of the flesh in their lives. They would be drawn to a lifestyle of sexual immorality and even sleeping with their own children. In my testimony beyond the grave, I told you how my private part became long because I was the queen of seduction. Whenever God's children expose their bodies, I was leaving my body and I was sleeping with them in the spirit. Whenever God's servants wore clothes that exposed their breasts, I was leaving my body in order to have sex with them. When they exposed their backs in the church, I was coupling with them right there. I had sex with those who exposed their navels and those who exposed their thighs. Those who came to church with a mini skirt above their knees exposing their thigh, I slept with them even in the house of God. Men who were wearing shorts and sleeveless shirts exposing their armpits, I was sleeping with them. Deuteronomy 22:5. The woman shall not wear that which pertaineth unto a man, neither shall a man put on a woman's garment, for all that do so are an abomination unto the Lord thy God. God's servants should not put on sheer tights, for I was coupling with God's servants wearing tights. I was having sex in the spirit with God's servants wearing shorts, which is underwear. Any woman wearing tight dresses exposing her shape is an abomination to the Lord, and I was having sex with her. Trousers or lady panties are an abomination. In Africa, men often wear loincloths. They must abandon that behavior. You got to help your wife or husband. For when your wife or husband lives in the flesh, you shall end up in the flesh, because one of you will be the instrument that will bring down the other to hell. The woman is not supposed to wear shorts, as it is considered underwear. It is bad and must be avoided. The underwear called crotchless panties must be avoided. Women who wear lady pants reveal the shape of their bottoms and can seduce men. Some women choose not to wear any underpants to avoid creating a panty line because they find it sexually exciting. They stumble many men in this way too. G-string panties are a satanic triangle. It passes between the buttocks. A woman wearing low-rise trousers may expose the upper rear portion of her thong underwear when she bends for men to see. Women must return to normal underwear, which is like children underwear. Exodus 28:42. And thou shalt make them linen breeches to cover their nakedness, from the loins even unto the thighs they shall reach. I want to tell you, brothers, that pants that are too short is underwear, and you are not supposed to walk around in them, nor wear them as a cyclist, for it will expose the shape of your body. The other issue is clothes that are tight and clothes that are transparent mini skirt. Whenever God's children wear tight, transparent dresses and mini skirts, I was having sex with them. Today I am pained whenever I see servants of God wearing pants exposing their G-string in churches, and brothers are supposed to close their eyes to avoid lusting after those women and committing an abomination in church.